On this episode, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys and their schedule for 2021, the Mavs, where they stand heading into the last 3 games of the season / playoffs, and the Rangers. We planted our flag on them being a fun team. And boy, I think we were right. Brian, play the music. I am Zach, your host, with my RV1, Brian. Brian, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm good, man. Good. Just sitting here at the crib. You know, it's all rainy and kind of gross outside, so
it is
chilling out. How are you?
I'm good, man. I was just going to comment on that. First off, I'm pumped. We've got some Dallas Cowboys schedule news to cover on our podcast because I was a little worried when we were going to record on Monday that we were just going to be talking no football really, because there wasn't really much to mention. So we delayed the pod 2 days, but I struggle in this weather. I know that this is a Dallas sports podcast, so almost everyone who's listening is in Dallas. And this weather has sucked ass the last 3 days. Like it's fucking cold, man. Like cold and just rainy and dismal. Do you overeat on days like this? Are you like me? Do you gorge yourself?
See, and here's the thing. I don't. But I love this weather, right?
I'm weird. No.
Like I said, it's gross, but I like the grossness, right? I like rain. I like cold. My wife hates it. She's literally throwing stuff at, she hates it. I love it. The rain, the cold, cloudy, all that's my jam. I love it.
It's pretty weird. I know that your body burns more calories when it's cold because it's fighting to stay warmer at once more, right?
Yeah.
So I think I go into like uber hibernation mode. Me being the ex-fat guy that I was, I think that like that inner child comes out. And I just want to eat like a pound of cookie dough and like put on a blanket and just pop the Sitco CD and jam the thong song and drink some hot chocolate. It's kind of where I want to go with my life there,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yes. So,
ways to live.
So as I said on the intro, today we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys schedule, kind of break it down, give our predictions. The Mavs have 3 games left, including tonight, and then the Rangers are still very watchable. So we're going to discuss all of these things. Anything going on particular before we get popping, Brian, going on with you? Anything you're watching or vibing on that you want to let the listeners know about? Or
the wife and I decided we're real big into, I don't know if you watched the show Handmaid's Tale, but
no, I know what it is though.
I love that show. It's amazing. And the new season just started. So we, before we started the new season, we went back and rewatched season 3. And so we are starting the first episode of the new season tonight, and I'm very excited about that. That's what
very cool.
What about you, buddy?
Well, for me, I wish there was kind of a show right now besides Warrior. Like I talked about on the previous podcast that I was kind of really into. I'm watching The Bad Batch on Disney Plus. It's animated Star Wars. It's okay. I could not watch it and be okay. If that, like, I'm more of a live action type guy. But I'm watching it just so I have something to pay attention to, kind of.
Yeah, I can't do the animated. I love the live action Star Wars movies. I love almost all of them. But I have never been able to do the animated any of them, none of them. I just can't do it. So I don't know.
I really try, and then it is what it is, though, man. And then Resident Evil Village, I've been talking about that on the pod a little bit. Came out on Thursday night at midnight, and I took off Friday. I stayed up till almost 4 a.m. playing it on Thursday night. Was off Friday, so woke up, went to lunch with my lovely wife, then played it some more, and then I actually beat it this weekend. So I beat the game within the first 3 days of owning it. I was that into it. I slayed the piss out of some werewolves, and there was some lycans, as they call them in the game, and it was beautiful. I love it. It was terrifying. There's no spoilers, but there's a part in the game for any listeners who were interested in survival horror stuff. The second level of it is a fucking dollhouse maze, like weird distorted dolls all around. It is something. Like, it is a mental mind F giant puzzle. It's one of the most original things I've ever seen. It was very, very, very cool. But yeah, it's
terrifying.
Something. It's a bit terrifying for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it now. Okay, we're gonna start with Cowboys briefly, go into the Mavs, go into the Rangers, and then come back to the Dallas Cowboys to finish up the schedule. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, it's kind of it's more of a statement. Like the article, there's really not a whole lot to it. It's just what somebody said and then what our perception should be to that. So Brian and I, when we talked about the draft on our last episode, we said that there were some intangibles we noticed with these guys: 34 and a half to 35-inch arms, 6'4" height, wrestling backgrounds, and also just an enormous amount of confidence. Like, athletes just be confident anyway, but I'm talking like, man, these guys are talking like the cornerback drafted in the 4th round who should have been in the 6th is talking about, or the 3rd round, excuse me, talking about how he's the next Richard Sherman. I mean, I kind of dig it. I dig the swagger, right? So Simi Fehoko, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I think I might have nailed it actually there.
You got it.
He actually was on the radio, and very cool stat. I'll pull my phone out so that I can get the quote right. He says, with his God-given abilities, which we talked about, the fact that you said his route running is what needs work, so his mechanics, but as far as just being a football player, he's got all the intangibles you want, right?
Intangibles and tangibles. I mean, he's got, like you said, as far as God-given skill, there's not a lot he is lacking. It's just experience and top-tier coaching and things like that that'll make him better.
So he says, with God-given abilities and skills, there's no reason I can't be the best receiver in this draft class, if not the league. Mm-hmm. That's bold, Cotton. I dig it. I dig it for a fifth round selection, right? Or you 6th?
Yes, 5th. He was a 5th.
Okay. So one thing I studied about him, during his 6-game abbreviated year last year, he only played 6 games.
Yeah.
37 receptions. So that is 5 a game, right? A little bit more. 6 in a couple games, 5 in a couple, right? Yeah. About right?
Yeah.
For 574 yards. So that's 96 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 receiving touchdowns. So every other game scoring a touchdown. And first team all Pac-12 honors. That is pretty baller. It's not the competition's not the greatest, right? But
no, but there's hang with me for 1 second, because I want to pull up the stat line from a particular game.
Okay.
Because he went, there's one game, right, where basically he went
complete ham.
Yeah, he went ape shit. And he ended up with something in the neighborhood of, I'm not going to be able to find it right now, but it was one game. They were getting trounced. They weren't doing well. And he and his quarterback basically just put the game on their shoulders. And he ended up with something in the neighborhood of 16 catches for 310 yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that. And they ended up winning the game. I mean, there is some, even Brian Broaddus was talking about it during the draft show. He has a knack for showing out at big moments, right? And what we were talking about is confidence and intangibles. And wide receiver, like, if there's 3 positions where confidence is probably the most important, and that's quarterback, wide receiver, and cornerback, right? I want a wide receiver who thinks, I want them to think that they can be the best receiver in the draft class. That's you'll never find every great wide receiver thinks that they are or could be the greatest wide receiver of all time. All of them. Wide receiver who really has doubts like that, they're never going to live up to their potential. So I love it.
Wow. It was 16 receptions for 230 yards and
230.
three
Sorry. Okay.
touchdowns.
And how many?
Three touchdowns. All three touchdowns were that game
Yeah.
versus UCLA
Yep. Yeah.
on December the 19th of this year.
Yeah.
The last college game he played.
I knew he had one game where he just blew it out,
Yeah, man.
And the truth is he wasn't on. His lack of production is not entirely his fault because he was not on a great team. Don't get me wrong, there were some NFL caliber players, including his quarterback and as some other people on that team that did get drafted and will get drafted, but
right.
They still weren't a great team. So it's not entirely his fault.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be watching, man, especially during training camp because in the preseason games, because I know that one of the glaring issues, I think this team, and once again, let's play this year football. Hey man, you win the Super Bowl. It doesn't look at what Denver did with Peyton Manning back in the day or what they might do with Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't matter if, you're not grooming a young one. You bring in Peyton Manning, you have a Super Bowl run for 3 years and then you're mediocre for then because you still got that game. And it's so damn hard to win a Super Bowl,
If you were to your point, if you were to ask John Elway now, if he knew that they were going to have 10 years of being average or worse, would he still do what he did and leverage the entire future for that run? He would say yes 100 times out of 100. If you got a chance to get a Super Bowl, damn the future, you go get it.
Sure.
So yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is you and I have spoke about Michael Gallup and his uncertainty about either A, being a trade target during this season, or B, a free agent they let walk. Obviously, if he walks, they will get a comp pick for him, which with their history of comp picks, I don't know how valuable of a thing that is, right? With the way they treat the mentality there. So we'll see how that goes, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Dak was a comp pick, so.
Yes, he was. No, that's true. That's very true. And they tried their worst to not have Dak by trying to get Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook. And luckily we were cock blocked by the Raiders and the Broncos.
Yes.
Thank you. And we play their division this year too. I think Dak might have something to say about that. I hope he does.
That's a beautiful thing.
I really do. Speaking of who we play this season, the schedule's out. We're going to do a full breakdown later in the episode. But I was talking to some coworkers this week, and I was talking about who the Cowboys are playing. And I kind of had it was like Monday. I'm like, I have a feeling we might play Tampa week 1. I was like, we do play in Tampa this year. And I know the Aaron Rodgers rematch would be phenomenal, but the NFL doesn't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the Packers. So wouldn't that just be a dud of an opening night, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, the Cowboys, it doesn't matter how they finish, our ratings freaking bonanza because people watch them because they hate them. They watch them because they love them, and they're watching that game regardless. So we're playing Tampa. It is Tom Brady. They're getting their rings. It's go time. And the Cowboys are going to play them and more than likely probably going to lose going by the history of this game, correct? Normally the Super Bowl winner is winning. I think they have like a 92% winning percentage the last decade, something stupid like that. So let's just talk about why it's important. I think is my thing. Like if they hang with them and can go toe to toe, I think that would say a lot for this team and what they didn't accomplish last season and what they think they can accomplish this year, win or lose. Am I messed up for thinking that, or is that a good philosophy, you think?
No, I think, well, first, let me say this, right? I know the stats. Right now, I don't know why, but I think we win. I just do. Okay. I just do. I think Dak is going to come out, and I think he's going to come out on fire. I really do.
One thing to talk about is there's a thing I found earlier, and I mentioned this before we started recording, so I'll bring it full circle right now. The Cowboys since 2009 have only beat the New York Giants on opening day. Like literally, they've lost to every other team they've played since 2009, unless they were named the New York Giants. That is freaking weird. Number one. The last team they beat was in 2009, and it was Tampa Bay, and it was in Tampa Bay. So that they got that going for them, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's I don't like I said, I think Dak he's gonna want to come out and show out. Really, he's a lot of the league for a while was doubting whether he was even going to be able to play this year or possibly ever again.
That answers the question. The NFL would not be putting that as Thursday night football if they weren't
confident that
right.
He was going to be the guy and
Sure.
and healthy and ready to go.
Exactly.
The other thing we have in our favor, and look, the truth is it was something we had in our favor last year also, but really it's just this year defensively. They don't really know what our defense is going to look like. Because right now, Dan Quinn doesn't know what our defense is going to look like.
Sure. Tampa Bay is not going to know because we're not going to show it in the preseason.
No. They're going to get the super most vanilla version of our defense in the preseason. So they're not going to have any. So we're going to have a little bit of an advantage there. But the main thing is if you and look, it was part of it was an acclimation period, and they're returning all their starters, so maybe it won't. But Tom, even back with his time in New England the last few years, has typically kind of started the season fairly slow. The last few years as he's gotten older, it takes him a little while to get into midseason form and really, really start. So I think, if we've got a chance to beat, we're going to play Tampa. We were going to play Tampa this year, no matter what. If we've got a chance,
sure.
to beat, week one is maybe our best shot at doing it because Tom usually starts kind of slow.
Okay. And for me, I humbly disagree. And the reason why is that I do believe our defense on paper is better, and I do believe it's going to gel. I'm just not sure if it's going to be week one. Sure. I see Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Mike Evans having a field day against our secondary while we try to put it together. I hope I'm wrong. I honestly think that it's going to be like a 38-34 shootout loss where it's going to be down to we maybe even have a shot to win it or send it to overtime, something wild. I could picture a shootout, a real fun game. And obviously that's why the NFL, I think this game's going to be a whole lot of offense. And I just don't think that right now, I don't think they're a team that could hang with that because it's going to come down to who can get that stop in the fourth quarter. And until this defense shows me they can do that, I'm not going to have confidence that it could be done against like a Tom Brady. Now you're telling me it's against the Chargers. I would have confidence that we could win that game because I think they could stop Herbert. Although I'm a big fan of his, I think they could stop Herbert when the game's on the line. If that makes sense. Tom Brady, I'm not sure right now with what I know. Now my opinion could change vastly once I see it in the preseason and I see them working and I see them rocking. But right now, that's not what I think.
No, that's fair. And I am hopelessly optimistic about this team. But, like you said, a lot remains to be seen and they have a lot to prove, which is part of why I'm kind of confident. I feel like this entire team wants to be able to come out and show that last year was an aberration.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, man? Like, if you really break it down too, so when our podcast was originally going to be Monday and I was doing my show notes to kind of prep, I was going to kind of guesstimate schedule and what I thought about the schedule coming up, right? And just off the top of my head, I had Tampa and Chiefs as an L. I had us losing, and I was being generous here because I think we really could win 4, but I had us with 3 division losses, although that's probably stretching it. So that's 5 losses right there, and then just 2 random losses. So I had us at 7. So I think that, and that's without looking at like how many road games are in a row. That was without looking what comes when, if we're playing in New England in December. Like I wasn't focusing on any of that. So I was thinking about 11 is the ceiling for wins. If everything health and schedule wise, the way everything fell went perfect. After looking at it, I could see 9. I think 9, and we'll talk about this in a minute. I personally think that this team is like got a 9-win like floor. And I think their ceiling's about 11 is what I could see. So I could see anywhere between then. I think Vegas has them at 8.5 is what they think their win total is going to be for the season.
Sure. I've got them a bit higher, but not drastically. And this is all barring significant health issues like last year, right?
Sure.
Let's say, hypothetically, the O-line stays reasonable. The team as a whole stays reasonably healthy. There's going to be injuries, but reasonably healthy. I think the floor at that point is like 10, and I could see them doing 12 or 13. I'm like, basically, I'm one game up from where you're at.
Well, on paper, besides the Chiefs and Bucks, it is not, because you got the Saints and it's post Drew Brees.
Yeah.
You've got Denver, who, if they have Aaron Rodgers, that's a whole different story. But without Aaron Rodgers, you think that's a W, right?
Yep.
You have, it's just, and we'll talk about that here towards the end of the pod. There's one part of the schedule that I'm concerned with, and we'll see if this changes your tone whenever we get to it. But let's go to the Mavs now, and let's talk about kind of what's going on with them. All right. Cool. So coming off of a great week last week, they finally faltered last night and lost pretty embarrassingly, honestly, to Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Memphis just looked like a team who wanted it more, period. Like last night, they wanted to win. I think they might still have an outside shot at the final play-in spot, Memphis, whereas the Mavericks have clinched the division and the playoffs. And quite frankly, it looks like they're going to escape unless they just bomb the next 3 games. It looks like the Mavs will escape the play-in too, which is good. It looks like they're going to be either 5 or 6 is what it looks like is going to happen. If they win all 3, I think 5 is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
Tonight they play the Pelicans, and the Pelicans don't have one freaking starter playing. Not one.
Yeah.
Like I like that Alexander Walker kid. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a very good player, and I think he'll be their starter next year because I think Lonzo will be in New York. But so that's good. But there's no Zion, there's no Adams, there's no Brandon Ingram. It's just I guess Eric Bledsoe is starting at 2 guard. So there's their one starter that's playing. So if they don't win tonight, that's not good. KP is back. He's playing tonight. So there we go. We've got 3 games. So let's hope he stays healthy the next 3. One thing I want to talk about with the Mavs is we have 3 games left. This 3-game schedule that we got coming up is tonight versus the Pelicans. We have Friday versus the Raptors, who were eliminated from playoff contention, by the way. Yep. And then we have the Timberwolves on Sunday, who were also eliminated from playoff contention. So it is very strongly, I can say they're going to go 3-0 if they win tonight. I don't see them losing to 2 teams who are wanting to lose to get better odds at ping pong balls. Would you agree with that assessment there?
I absolutely agree with that assessment, with one caveat, which is depending on how things play out, I could see the possibility on the final game against the Timberwolves, if Rick decides that he's not all that concerned about the matchups and doesn't mind if we fall to 6 from 5 or whatever, maybe resting Luka on that last night, just take additional rest and
sure,
et cetera. I think that's probably the only, or maybe not even resting Luka, but resting enough people, load managing some folks on the last night. Other than that, I'm with you.
And maybe Cat and crew wants to have a great send off to the season for, there's a lot of objective things that could happen. Also, I think one thing I learned in football a long time ago, and I think it stands true for the NBA as well. I don't think these guys care like fans do who they play. I do think they don't want to be in a play-in tournament. So I do think if it was like, hey, they've got to win versus the Timberwolves or they'll fall to 7, I think that's going to be a different story because they want to avoid that. But I don't think the Mavs care if they're 5th or 6th because it doesn't matter. It's not a different same thing in the NFL. I think they care about being like the 1 seed and having a bye week, right? But as far as like being 2 or 3, I'm not sure that really is motivation for a lot,
I think I'll put it to you this way. I think they care about the seeds I think it's mostly about pride, right? As far as the matchups go, I think there are a handful of exceptions for every team that they do want to play one team or don't want to play another. But I don't think they sit there and dwell on it. Because at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the football players with the confidence thing. If you're sitting there in your own head worrying about having to play this team or that team, that's not a healthy mindset for a professional athlete.
Right.
It's really not. Those guys to be that level of athlete, generally speaking, have to be confident enough in their ability to think that they can take any team in a 7-game series, whether or not it's realistic. They need to think that way. So,
and I think that the Mavs have a legit chance whether they play. It looks like we're about a 90% lock to play the Clippers or Denver, depending on what happens.
Which is fine by me.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 2 fun series regardless. And the Lakers are playing, they have no AD or LeBron tonight.
Yeah.
They are playing against Houston though. And Houston is terrible. Except for when they play against us, apparently.
Yeah, right. But
yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Portland plays tonight as well. They have a tougher matchup. I forget who they play, but we're right now in 6 because Portland holds the tiebreaker. So that would be badass for Portland to lose because we're right back in 5th again. And then we're in control, just win the last 2 games and we're 5th, which is cool. That would be good to go from 7 to 5 on Luka's year 3. And then to think of what they're going to do in the off season and everything else is that's exciting to me. Speaking of off season, one Mav who stepped up this last week has been Josh Green.
Yes. Yeah.
And very, very sparse minutes. If this kid, now I am on record. Now we weren't recording our pod during the NBA draft. I am on record with conversations, not with you, but other people, that I was a Bane or a Sadiq Bey, were my 2 huckleberries in the draft who I wanted.
Bey was my dude.
And Bey has been
the other Bey.
He's been exceptional this year for right. I think he's averaging 16 points a game. He's really developed his 3-point shot. He's doing well, man. So they give him the minutes, and obviously being a good player on a rookie on a bad team pays dividends because they'll give you the workhorse minutes. You get to really showcase what you're about.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, when you're, like you said, when you're a rookie on a bad team, you are what they're excited about. They don't have playoff aspirations. Their aspirations are getting you experience and getting you better. So there is that, which we have to take into account with Josh Green, but still.
Yeah. And my thing with Josh Green, what I liked about when I watched his highlights from college when we drafted him, and then whenever I started to see him play at the beginning of the year in the preseason, one thing I liked about the kid is it's Dennis Rodman style. That dude is jumping. He is going 110 all the time. There is no slowdown. He cannot shoot to save his life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe a layup here and there, but it's all hustle, defense, and making the other team. I think one of the reasons why he didn't get a lot of playing time is because he was trying to have an offensive game, and it's just not there right now.
Yeah.
It seems like during this stretch, I think he's realized that, hey, let me just go out there and hustle my ass off, get the bunnies. There's given to me through Luka, Luka had an alley-oop pass to him 2 games ago and such, but just, don't force anything. I'll do the pass instead of the 3-point shot. And I think that's been getting him in the extra minutes. And JJ Redick's going to miss the rest of the season now and possibly playoff games. Yeah. So we're going to need this dude.
Yeah.
Dude's energy big time.
So it's a bad analogy because they're nothing alike as far as playing style. But
I use a Dennis Rodman analogy. It's not much worse because they're not the same position, but the energy is what I was using,
He reminds me of his role on the team. What they use him for reminds me of Eddie Nahara.
Yeah. Yes.
If you make a single shot on the very few minutes you're getting, it's a bonus. But come in, play defense, hustle, dive for loose balls. Do all of the scrap work. And he's embraced it. That is the noticeable difference from now until from before, rather.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because to the naked eye, to the average Mavs fans, right? So we're 3 games away from the playoffs. So what does that mean is going to happen for Mavs fans? That number goes here.
Yeah.
Right? We're about to get a lot of watchers that we don't usually have because the playoffs are a big deal. All of a sudden people are on the bandwagon. People are watching, especially if they look like they can win. right?
Yep.
Think Dallas Stars last year. The Dallas Stars won a Stanley Cup run. I had people talking hockey. I've never even heard talk hockey, right? It's just, it's a beautiful thing. That's Dallas sports for you, right? If it's not the Cowboys, it's kind of bandwagonish. Don't get me wrong. When you win a championship, you get a good 8 to 10 years like the Rangers had before, like the last 5, where people are invested pretty heavily into it, right?
Sure.
And I think that if you look at the box score, right? If I'm going on Bleacher Report and looking and seeing what the Mavs stats look like last night or the night before or whenever else, if you look at Josh Green, you see 3 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. It's like, why is Zach talking about this guy? Well, what it's a you have to watch to know. Like,
Yep.
you can't, you look at the stats lie completely over what this guy really has meant on this last 10 game stretch.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yeah, he's a guy that, and it's not all, it may not always, this very well may be, and I'm not saying it will, but this very well may be as good as he ever gets. I don't think it will.
Well, if he develops a shot, I have hope, not to cut you off, but Dorian Finney-Smith
couldn't shoot to save his life.
And not to mention they changed his mechanic, and we talked about this on the pod, and it was even worse for a year because he was learning a new way to shoot, and Rick's like, just keep doing it. And now, dude, with Tim, I mean, this team is fun. I mean, you've got Dwight Powell playing his freaking ass off, Mr. Energy, right? You've got Dorian Finney-Smith, who can give you 18 any night now, and Tim Hardaway scoring 30 a game off the bench.
Yeah,
I mean, it's starting to become a problem for teams to defend a little bit because a lot more players can score than we thought capable 25, 40 games ago.
Well, and so it brings me to something I wanted to ask you, which we haven't discussed this ahead of time at all, but it was something that kind of crossed my mind. And some other people have talked about it in Dallas media, but I was interested to get your thoughts, which is this. I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to make a statement, and then I want to get your response.
Okay.
Is this team better without KP? I'm not even saying trade, with what we would get back in a trade or whatever. Just right now with him sitting on the bench, is the team better? Do they gel better? Because because I think there is absolutely something to be said for, look, he does not, a part of his game that for whatever reason hasn't clicked here in Dallas.
I'm watching him shoot free throws right now.
Huh?
I said I'm watching him shoot free throws right now.
Okay, so something in his game that hasn't clicked is being the roller, right? The rolling to the basket, the pick and roll part of it. He is a pick and pop guy only, basically here.
Yeah.
And there is something when Dwight Powell or Willie Cauley-Stein is in the game.
Sure.
Their offensive efficiency goes through the roof when Luka is playing with one of those guys. When there is a roller, it does something to the spacing. It does something. So are they better without him?
Well, see, I'm gonna play two roles here. Okay. I think when Kleba was starting, and it was Kleba and Porzingis, I think no, they're not a better team. But I think that with the way they started to use Dwight Powell over the last 20 games, I think we're better with KP because we have Powell starting with KP. So you still have that. The Rick Carlisle offense, pick and roll, is a a lot of offenses, right? But it is a thing. It is. So that's why we traded for Nerlens Noel a few years ago, because of what we thought he was going to be capable of doing. He just didn't have the work ethic, didn't really gel with Rick right. So I think with Dwight healthy and playing like he's been playing, I think it's fine. I really do. And I think Kleba has gotten to the point where situationally he can do well. I've seen the man shut down Kawhi Leonard in this run of the year, right? So I think Kleba is going to serve a purpose. I'm not sure what Rick's going to do with rotations, but I can see a lot of Kleba and Cauley-Stein at the same time, Powell and Porzingis. I'm intrigued to see what happens in crunch time to close it out, right? Like who's going to be on the floor and what. Really depending on, with Denver, you need bigs if that's the way the series is going to go. With LA, probably not so much because they're probably Zubac. If we figure out how to defend Zubac, it's going to be them putting his ass on the bench and they're going to go small. and probably have Morris play center with what's the I forget the power forward they have too that would play as well. Not Bynum. God, wrong name. I can't. Batum would be the power forward. So that could be a very strong possibility. So I'm excited to see the chess pieces, but we are a better team with Porzingis, no question about it. I do think that Porzingis demands a certain amount of shots, so that limits the upside of a Dorian Finney-Smith. Because I think when he's relied on to be a guy, which he just made a three-pointer right now, when he's relied on to be a guy and be a major focal point of the offense, he's shined big time, man. Like
I agree.
Is the fifth fiddle, he just doesn't seem to get warm enough to contribute like he does. Because really, he's like the fourth or fifth guy once Tim Hardaway's playing and if Porzingis is in, and he doesn't get enough shots, and maybe he's just not warm enough, right? I think he's a little bit of a streaky shooter with that.
He's got to get in a groove. He's definitely got to get in a groove. Okay, so I got one other question for you then.
Sure.
Off topic of not off topic, but off of are they better or they're not? Of the two primary options for the playoffs, who do you prefer, Denver or the Clippers?
I kind of want to beat the fucking Clippers ass, dude.
Give me the Clippers, man. For two reasons.
I kind of want to, man.
Aside from the revenge factor and Morris, I want to see somebody put him on his ass. Aside from that, also we played the Clippers I don't know how many times this year, but I know this.
3. We won the season series. We won the season series 3 games.
We beat them
2-1.
Okay, and we beat them by 50 once, and we beat them by 30 once.
Right, and then we lost by like 15 the other game. I think, maybe 10.
You average that out. That's still us, overall winning that series by a lot.
Oh, they have no answer for Porzingis, by the way. He played He played 2. He didn't play the 50-point game, I don't think. He played the other 2.
Correct. Yeah, because the 50-point game was the third or fourth game of the season.
Right.
He was still in recovery.
Sure. Yeah.
But they do not have an answer for him. And let's go. Give me the Clippers all day long.
So the one funny thing about Denver, the Mavs have kind of owned Denver the last 2 years, regardless of who's playing and who's not. I know you look at Phoenix and how this last 2 or 3 years, they've just owned the Mavs. Like, it doesn't matter what their record is. Like, they've lost 3 in a row. If it's Devin Booker's first game back from injury, it seems like they just got our number. We're kind of that way with Denver, dude, a little bit. So it's always been good. So I think that if you want, I mean, I think the Clippers are good, and I want my team to play them, and I want my team to beat them, because I think that's what this team needs. I think that if I want the Mavs to take the next step that I think they're capable of doing, I think a Clippers series would be the best thing for them, because if they fail, they're going to really look in the mirror and make the right changes, I think. And then if it works, then us being the homers that we are and talking about everything else means that we're really not as far off as we might think of being a true contender, right? And it's intriguing to me because this is the one weird thing. Like, this is one thing that I've got here. If the Mavs are 5th, that means we completely would avoid both LA teams unless it was in the championship, though. Yep. And Denver is a series that they could win. And honestly, I think Utah beats whoever the hell they play. And obviously the Mavs play Utah well. I'm not saying they can beat Utah or that they would, but they could be in the series. They could be in the series. So that's just a note to everyone else. I want the Clippers. Don't get me wrong, but if you're 6th and you're playing the Clippers, that means you're likely, if you survive that, playing the Lakers next too. So you're having to survive La La Land, basically the whole bracket to get to the top. So there is a different path, but I'm sick in the head like that. That's what I want. So I that's me. I'm wild like that.
I'm 100% with you in that. I want to take on the Clippers because all the things I mentioned, but also you're right. That is a building block series. If you lose, I think it has potential to really make the team, like you said, look in the mirror, But if you win, that's a series you can really build on and feel confident about, and see this team turn from boys to men.
Sure. I mean, if you get out coached by Ty Lue and run out the gym by them after what you did last year in the bubble and what you did this season series versus them when you're healthy, I think you realize that, damn, we're a playoff team, but we're not a championship team. And it's going to be more than just signing a freaking Zach LaVine or whatever. It's going to take way more than that, because I'm sorry, I think Zach LaVine's a phenomenal player, a guy like him. And I know the MFFLs want a player like that on our team, but how many playoff series has that dude won? You know what I mean? Is adding a dude like that the magic piece to a championship? Probably not. So I think that if they get just embarrassed by a team, that it's going to be a major shakeup that could set us kind of like, man, as much as I hate it, Steve Nash leaving was probably one of the best things that could happen for that team. I don't know if they win a championship and make two finals appearances without him.
I was about to say, I don't think Dirk has a ring if Nash signs here and stays the rest of his career.
I think they're damn good. I think they're a top 3 West team during that whole run, but I don't know if they get over the hump, man. Just because Steve Nash, man, just there were so many good point guards back then and so many good big men, and we had no answer for either, right? And it's the way the dynamic it created was so intriguing. So
it was although I will say this, unfortunately for Steve Nash, he was 10 to 12 years too late, because that Steve Nash in this NBA, in fact, that entire Phoenix Suns team, or even the early 2000s Mavs team that he was a part of, they would have dominated in this current era.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely.
They were one of the first teams to they were the starter to what's happening now. The 10-second
or less Suns, right?
Yep.
Shoot the ball within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock, man, with Stoudemire and the Matrix and everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pumped. And it's funny because I'm trying to talk myself out of the Clippers as I say more because of the Denver versus Utah thing. But we'll see what happens. I think they're going to play Denver. I really do. I want the Clippers. I think they're going to be 5th. I really do.
All I care, honestly, the truth is, between Denver and the Clippers, I just don't want to play Phoenix. I don't want to have to play Phoenix until the conference championship. They, like you said it, man, for 2 or 3 years now, they've had our number, and now they've added Chris Paul, who is a notorious Mav killer, and I don't want any part of that team, man.
Yeah, no, the last time we beat Phoenix in a meaningful game was one of the last years we made the playoffs with Dirk.
Yeah.
It was like win the last game of the season to get the 8th seed or something, or the 7th. I forget exactly what it was. It was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, that was the like Dirk, Vince Carter, that era,
Yeah. Yeah, I think because we were the 8th seed with San Antonio. Yeah. And we actually we had incredible. Yeah, yes, sir. You're right.
Yep.
All right. So that is Mavs talk. All right. We will have a very intriguing. We'll know who we're playing in the first round Monday when we record, my man.
Yep.
And the play-in tournament will be happening that week, right? And then probably more than likely Saturday or Sundays when the playoffs start next weekend.
Yep.
I would if things go normally like they would. Normally it's a Saturday quadruple header backed up by a Sunday quadruple header. So we shall see. So on to the Rangers. The Rangers hit 500, man. They lost both games after they hit 500, but they got to 500.
Yeah.
They're sitting at 18-20 now. And I don't have a whole lot to say, man, besides the fact that from moment one, and I think I was even more of an optimist than you.
You were.
I was talking about how I did have a feeling they were going to be a lot better than people. Like, it was a lot of doom and gloom, and I planted my flag that I think they're going to be fun and I think they're going to be better. And so far, so good, man. A lot of surprising stories with Adonis, who we've covered here, Nate Lowe out of nowhere, and still their pitching is still so impressive that the games they're losing are not getting killed. Ari Hara's fallen off quite a bit, but overall, man, they're teetering around there and they're still playing relevant baseball. You have anything you want to add?
I mean, look, they are so much better than I thought they were going to be. Adolis Garcia is the rookie of the year. Now, I mean, he's 28, but right now he is running away with the rookie of the year.
He's like Kurt Warner, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the truth is, one other thing, they won some games on the weekends finally.
I saw they won a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but then lost on Monday and Tuesday. So they're starting to mess with us a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. The Sunday game that they won is what got them to 500, and then they just shot the bed after that. But like I've said all along, the truth is, I don't care whether they win or lose. Right now, this year, I don't care how many games they win or how many they lose. I care about the games being entertaining, right, and players progressing. And I'm getting that. And they happen to be winning some games too. So I'm perfectly happy with it.
They're 4 games out of first in their division.
Which
that's not a lot.
No, it's really not. And
they're one game out of second.
That's crazy. See, I wonder what kind of money you could have got by putting a bet that they would, what their record would be at this point. I bet you could have won quite a bit of money. I bet the odds were way.
Yeah. Oh, every expert had them as being just absolute dog shit.
They were supposed to lose 100 games. And the bullpen. We've had some injuries in the bullpen, and the bullpen for a little while there was unbelievable, and they've come back to earth. Mm-hmm. They're still not terrible, but you are seeing growth and development. You're starting to see some of the young guys that we're watching deliver. And now to me, that here's the thing. My other note is, normally if they were going to do a contract extension with Joey, you would start hearing rumblings. You would start hearing talks about discussions between him and his agent and all that. And you were hearing radio silence on that front.
Sure.
So I think that he is going to be on the trade block as we get closer to midseason. But that's just an educated guess. That's all.
Okay. All right. We shall see. Like I said, still team fun. We'll see. Obviously baseball's so fluid because you could easily win or lose 6 in a row. And this is a team where if that kind of losing streak happens, because they are who they are, that could be the beginning of the unraveling if something like that was to take place. So let's just hope they keep playing around 500, man. So it's fun as long as possible, at least until preseason starts for the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
That would be super, super awesome.
Yeah, or at least even training camp. Just get me to training camp.
Give me to July, baby. Give me to the middle of July, and I'm gold.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys, it's funny because the NFL has 3. They're now, because they officially went to an 18-game schedule. There's only 3 preseason games, right? Except for the Cowboys and the Steelers. We have 4 because we're playing a Hall of Fame game. Yeah. So I can bet you every American dollar I have in my bank account, we will not see one starter in the Hall of Fame game. Would you like to take that bet?
No, not for 1 second, not even a little bit. No, it's not. Well, unless the only exception to that is we might see 1 or 2 starters on defense that are rookies that are going to end up being starters, right?
Okay, yeah, I can see that, because like Kelvin Joseph probably won't win a starting job. We think maybe he will, but I hope he does.
That's a bet I'll take. Kelvin Joseph will be your.
I think he will. I think he's going to be damn good, man. And I kind of like his rapping too. I'm not even going to lie.
Here's the thing. Yeah, well, so his rapping is not my style of rap at all.
Oh, I've been jamming it on the way to work every day.
But it is good for what it is. But Boss Man Fat is not my jam. But here's the thing. I don't even necessarily. I don't know how great he's going to be, because cornerback is one of the hardest positions to transition from college to the NFL of all of them. But The real issue is that he doesn't have any stiff competition for the second corner job, right? Number one, Trayvon Diggs has got your number one corner job locked up. It's done. It's over. We can call it right now. As long as he's healthy, it's his job to lose.
For sure.
But the other two guys that would be in the running is Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown. And they're both slot guys, right? Anthony Brown has played on the outside, but they're both primarily slot. And I think Jordan Lewis is going to get looks at safety. So I think they drafted Kelvin Joseph with 100% intentions of starting him week one as your number 2 corner.
I like it. No, dude, I'm here for it. I hope that is the case, or at very least, if they don't, he wins the job in the preseason.
Sure, and the only exception to that would be is if, and this is still a possibility. I'm not predicting it, but it is a possibility. Is that we go sign a veteran or something, Verrett or Sherman.
If somebody gets cut that we don't know, or maybe Sherman is available to sign for $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. We get to July or August, and one of these veteran corners that's on the market starts getting antsy, going, holy hell, I'm going to end up without a team. Fine. All right. I'll take the veteran minimum. That happens, right. Then maybe he gets knocked down the depth chart a bit. But I think right now he's your week one starter.
For sure. All right. So let's look at the schedule. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. So I'm just going to go down the schedule first. All right. And then we'll kind of touch base in phases a little bit.
Okay.
So as we talked about at the beginning of the pod, we start on the road in Tampa Bay. Okay. Week 2 is also on the road. So we're starting with 2 road games this year. It's in LA. This is the LA Chargers, not Rams, who are a super young team. They don't know how to win yet. Okay. That was evident last year. Now, this might be different with a new coach. Yeah. But I think Herbert, as good as he was last year, that last 3 to 4 weeks, the tape was out. He got figured out a little bit. I'm still big believer in Herbert guy. In fact, spoiler alert, I'll be targeting him in a lot of fantasy football drafts because he's fucking gold. But I do think that maybe some of that struggle continues the first couple of weeks, and then he figures it out and they finish extremely strong. But I'm not too worried about that game, but we'll get back to that in a second.
Sure.
We then have 3 home games in a row, and it's Philadelphia, it's Carolina, and it's the New York Giants.
Yep.
Okay. Then we go to New England. Then it's our bye week, week 7. I think week 7 to week 9 is about what you want. I think week 7 is a pretty good bye week right now with having 18 weeks. We come back after that. It's at Minnesota. Play Denver here, which is a win unless Aaron Rodgers fucking fuck that guy. Atlanta. This is the stretch that I'm concerned with. And I'm going to tell you why. So you answer me, and then we'll go back to everything else, okay? We play Kansas City at Kansas City. Winning in Kansas City is not easy, period. Now, this is a team. The Cowboys had won in Seattle before when they were in their heyday. So,
but winning in Kansas City was hard when they were garbage. So
yeah, it's just incredible. It's kind of like the Rose Garden in Portland. Yeah. It's just one of those places, man, that doesn't matter what the record is, or Utah for basketball. It is just intense, the crowd. The next game after Kansas City, this is the stretch that worries me, okay, is Las Vegas, who's a decent football team. I do think we're better than Las Vegas. They're decent, but it's the Thanksgiving game. And boy, have we played like shit the last 5 years on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, only 1 year under this regime, and there's not much to say about Washington. It was with a backup quarterback. It was Andy Dalton.
That was the low point of the season to me.
Yeah.
Last year. So until Mike McCarthy's team proves otherwise, I'm going to assume that we lose on Thanksgiving.
Right. So you're with me here. Okay. So here we go. So Kansas City, I'm thinking that's going to be an L because Kansas City is incredibly hard. Because of their track record on Thanksgiving, we're leaning towards the L. After those 2 games, Brian, it is three road games. At New Orleans, which, hey man, New Orleans is a tough place to win as well, regardless of what's going on there. I'd feel way better about that game if it was here.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. With Winston and Taysom Hill, we have a lot better chance than with Drew Brees. But
you're playing the stadium as much as you are. Again, it's kind of like Kansas City. You're playing the stadium as much as you are the team there.
At Washington,
that's a loss.
At New York,
that's a win. But okay, it could go the other way.
Washington again.
Yep.
Arizona.
Mm.
At Philly.
Yeah.
That is a murderer's row, my man.
Yeah,
they best win the beginning games because, don't get me wrong, I could see them winning of this stretch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 games. I could see 4 for sure.
I was going to say
they could win 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, the truth of the matter is that last 8 games going 500 would be okay. So look, again, early predictions. Chiefs is a loss. Raiders is a loss. I think we win Saints. Okay. I think we lose at Washington. I think we win the Giants. I think we win with Washington here. I think we win the last 4. Okay, I take that back. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be tough, but I think we win 5.
Okay, so you think so you're thinking that we basically finish on a 5-game win streak.
4-game win streak.
4-game win streak. Okay, gotcha. So we beat New Orleans, lose to Washington, and then we beat Giants, Washington, Arizona, and Philly to finish strong.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, caveat there is if we're resting players in week 18, but
sure. And then that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, that's okay. A good spot.
So now you see where I'm coming from.
Sure.
I think 9. I'm staring 9 wins because 3 road games in a row is fucking hard. Yep. And when you have Kansas City and Las Vegas on the cursed Thanksgiving game that's happened to us lately, right before that's a 5-game stretch that's rough to recover from, man. And I don't know where this team's head's at right now. My opinion might be completely different after our bye week because I might say, dude, this secondary, this defense is ready for the challenge. They dropped 2 of those games. They might be ready to win 3 games in a row. But judging from what I've seen coaching wise and what I've seen so far, going off of just knowing from what I know this season, that's rough, man. That's very, very, very rough. Now, the good thing is the other teams play the same schedule as well. But it's that's rough, man. It really, really is. So I'm going to start at the beginning of what I think. And let's see what I think the schedule is going to be. Okay. So I've got Tampa Bay as a loss. Chargers as a win. So there's 1 win. I think we beat Philly. I think we beat Carolina. I think we beat New York. And I think we beat New England. So I think we start 5-1. Okay. I think we come back on bye. And I think because the Cowboys are who we are, and we're going to be in a bye, people are going to talk about being a Super Bowl contender and everything else. I think Minnesota beats us in Minnesota.
Okay.
I think we come back. We get win number 6 with Denver, unless it's Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
Okay. I think win number 7 with Atlanta. Lose. Win. So I've got us at 10 wins.
Okay. So here's my full breakdown, right?
All right. I think we lose to Arizona, and I think we lose to Philly to close the season out.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're fine. No, that's why I said that's why I think it's 10. It could be 11 or 12 if they're a better mental team than I give them credit for right now.
All right. So do me a favor. Count how many wins for me as I'm saying. Right. So I say we win at the Bucks. All right. Say we lose at the Chargers. Okay. Win versus the Eagles. Win versus the Panthers. No. Let me back up. Win versus the Eagles. Lose versus the Panthers. Win versus the Giants. Lose at the Patriots. Bye week.
3-3 going into the bye. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Win at the Vikings. Win at the Broncos. Win at the Falcons. Lose to the Chiefs. Lose to the Raiders. Beat the Saints. Lose to Washington. and then 4 wins.
It's 11.
Okay, yeah, I say that's my prediction.
Okay. All right. Let's verify that I got what mine was right. So I had win versus the Chargers, win versus Philly. I had it was 5-1 to start.
Okay.
So give me 5 wins.
5.
Then I had Denver 6, Atlanta 7, Washington 8, Washington 9, or New York 9. Yeah, I had 9 wins.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah, it's going to be, again, my reason is this. Even if Dan Quinn isn't the greatest, and again, all of our predictions are based on relative health.
Sure. Well, I mean, like, what if Tom Brady blows his ACL in the preseason, right?
That changes.
What if
everything.
The Saints are just absolute dog shit by the time we play them and they're tanking for a draft pick?
Which
I
think is absolutely possible.
What if Ryan Fitzpatrick gets benched again and they're on their backup quarterback and he's just not it? And now we play them twice at the very end of the year and it's 2 gimme games.
Sure.
Right. So there's a lot of factors that, like you said, that we don't know. That's why it's so juvenile to say kind of what it is, but that's why I kind of like playing the phases. And I think that's a cool thing because most people aren't talking about what we're talking about right now. They just look at it and they think, okay, this is why we're going to beat them. This is what we're going to win. And sure, but I take the phase of like that is a murderer's row stretch, like I said, for the fact that we have so many road games backed up by that Kansas City Thanksgiving gauntlet, Yep. And then once again, if Aaron Rodgers isn't on Denver and we actually whoop the Raiders' ass, this could be a 13-win team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I'm so confident is so last year's defense was an experiment, a huge departure from what this team had basically been for the last 10 years prior to that, right? If you take the 2019 defense, if you take the same stats from 2019 and put 2019's defense with last year's team through week 5 when Dak was healthy, I think a lot of things changed. Number one, I think the fumbles dropped significantly because you're not giving up the crazy amount of points that last year's defense was because they were just so out of sorts. It was so different.
Right.
So even if Dan Quinn just gets us back to where we were in 2019, I think I don't see how this team is not 10 or 11 wins. I don't see how.
Hey man, like I said, I think 9 is the floor and I think 11 is the ceiling. So the positive Cowboy fan in me thinks you're right on the money. The naysayer Cowboy fan in me thinks it's 9 and damn it, 9 might be enough to win the division.
I think 9 will be enough to win the division because I do think Fitzpatrick will get benched.
I do too. And I hate that. He's so fun. I love Fitzpatrick.
Well, here's the thing, right? He's going to get benched probably maybe twice in the year. And he still may finish the season as the starter.
Sure.
Because for every game that he throws 4 interceptions, he's going to have 2 or 3 where he throws 4 or 5 touchdowns. That's just.
Have we looked at Washington's schedule yet? I'm going to pull that up real fast.
Pull it up.
You keep talking, and I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the truth is, I'm not worried about the Eagles. Right, Jalen Hurts. I'm a Jalen Hurts fan as because he went to OU. Right, but he's not, in my opinion, he's not a winning NFL quarterback.
Right.
I'm not worried about the Giants. I don't think Daniel Jones is a winning NFL quarterback. Plus, they got Jason Garrett calling the offense. Granted, they're going to have Saquon Barkley back.
I think we split with them. I just think that the important stretch is the game we lose, unfortunately, is my issue that I have.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's just something. The Giants just don't scare me. They just don't.
Here's Washington's schedule. You ready?
Yeah, let's.
Chargers, Giants, Bills,
good,
Falcons, Saints, Chiefs, Packers, Broncos, Bucks, Panthers, Seahawks, Raiders before we play them.
Okay. Give me it one more time. Sorry, from the top. Chargers.
Sure. We've got Chargers.
Okay, right off the bat, I'm going to say they win that.
Right, I'm with you. Giants.
They win that.
So they start 2-0. Bills.
Loss.
Falcons.
Win. 3-1.
In Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta. You know what? Okay, so you know what? Maybe they lose that because I could see them getting that's a trap game.
Sure.
In Atlanta, Kyle Pitts routes them up. Who knows?
Chiefs.
Oh, that's a loss.
Saints.
Is it at Saints? No, they win that.
Packers. We don't know. What a fucking clusterfuck, right? We don't know who's going to be the quarterback.
Here's the thing. It's come out that they're negotiating right now for a contract extension. Until something crazy happens, I'm going to assume he's a Packer.
Right. Then it's funny because they play the Packers, then the Broncos right after.
Yeah,
so they're playing Aaron Rodgers one of those two games, right?
One of those two. They're playing Aaron Rodgers. Whichever one it is, they're going to lose the game where Aaron plays, and whichever one it's not, they'll probably win it.
And then Bucks, Panthers, and Seahawks and Raiders.
Okay. I think they lose 3 of those 4.
Yeah. So they'll be about a 500 club is what at the naked eye it looks like. So we'll see if Fitzpatrick is starting by the time we get there. I mean, and their backup quarterback doesn't suck either, really.
Heineke?
Yeah, he played with balls, man. I appreciated him in the playoffs last year. It was a good gutsy performance,
Yeah, totally. And he's going to get it. I think he's going to get a shot to steal that job from Fitzpatrick. I don't think he's going to be able to, but he's going to get a shot to steal that job. And I think Washington is, like you said, I think they're going to end up roughly 500. They're going to be 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, right in that kind of window there, where the games that we play against them are going to be very important.
Yeah, I think the Eagles and the Giants both are going to be flirting with 6 to 8 wins. From what I know, the Giants are the enigma because if Daniel Jones comes out of nowhere with the weapons they've given him,
yeah,
maybe. But like I said, I have a feeling that both of those teams are going to be anywhere from 6 to 8 wins, and I think that the 9 to 11 range is where the football team and the Cowboys will be. And I do see a split coming for those two in the division. So it's really going to come down to just common games, and division records should be pretty identical as well for those two. So it's going to be a fun race, I think. And once again, what do we know? No one would have picked Washington to win the division last year. Obviously.
And I'll say this. I think as a whole, our division is going to be quite a bit better this year than it was last year. And when I say better, I don't mean that there's going to be a bunch of like the NFC West was this year where you've got 3 playoff teams, but I don't think there's going to be any team in the division that's going to be in the top 5 of the draft. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a bunch of teams that are close to 500. And then I think the Cowboys are going to be standing on the top of that heap with 11 wins.
We'll see, man. And I think that with the Cowboys this year, and I'm just going to keep reiterating it, I think that how mentally tough this team is the first quarter, half of the season is going to determine how they finish, man, because they are going to get tested. I mean, lose to, that game is going to be under such a microscope versus the Chiefs, especially if their record is what I think it's going to be, because I think I have them at like 7-1 or something, or 6-2 when they play. So there's a chance that's like people talking Super Bowl preview and such, right? If it goes the way my mind is thinking the schedule is going to kind of undertake. So that really could send you off the rails if you're a young team. People are putting you in that limelight, and then you get your teeth kicked in, and then it's a short week for Raiders.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that can kind of kick right there, man. So
yeah, I mean, and then right after that, you've got the rest of that, like you said, Murderer's Row. The season really hinges at that point. I think the Kansas City and those two games can make or break the entire season.
And the one thing they do have going for them, though, is the NFL always does this. After our Thanksgiving game, we play on Thursday the next week also. Because the Saints game we play the following week is on a Thursday, which means for the next two road games, which is Washington and then New York, we get a mini bye before Washington. So we're going to have a little bit more rest than Washington does, unless their bye happens to be during that gap. And I don't know that right now. I haven't studied enough to know if that's the case, but so that might be an advantage. So little things like that, man, those are the intangibles that you don't think about when the season's going on. But anyway you shake it, 3 road games in a row that late in the year is rough, especially when 2 of them are New York and Washington. It's going to be cold. It's going to be getting frigid out there. Yeah. Luckily, New Orleans is in a dome, but that's a hell of a place to. You might prefer the cold, frigid weather, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough place to play, man. It's so loud in there.
Yeah, and once again, man, who knows, man? That's why I love the NFL so much, because you circle Denver as a win today, and Aaron Rodgers could be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
you talk about New Orleans being tough, but like I said, they can start off 1-6, and they're tanking for first.
Again, I picked us to win at New Orleans because I think that's going to happen. I think New Orleans is going to fall apart this year.
And you very well could. I hope you're right.
Because they're also strapped salary cap wise. They lost some folks in the off season. I mean, it's and look, Drew Brees last year wasn't exactly Drew Brees of old. He couldn't throw the ball 15 yards downfield anymore. He literally just had a wet noodle for an arm.
Right.
But he was able to lead that team and get those people around him playing better. And, one thing we know so far about Jameis Winston as a pro quarterback is he is not a winner as of yet.
He can put up numbers. He can put up numbers like a mother, man.
Yeah. But I mean, literally almost the exact same team that he went, 6-10 or 7-9 with, Tom Brady took and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
sure.
It's just, it is what it is. I don't think the same. And I love Sean Payton, one of my 2 or 3 favorite head coaches in the entire league, but Jameis ain't the dude. So
history says when you lose your Hall of Fame quarterback, you do what just happened with the Patriots, regardless of who your coach is, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it happened to the Broncos, it happened to the Cowboys, it happened to the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins weren't ever really a contender with Marino anyway, but they were a perennial playoff team anyway.
I can think of 3 teams in at least my lifetime where it didn't happen to them.
The 49ers,
the Packers with Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, right? And then the Manning to Andrew Luck,
right?
Colts. Now that's also because they went 1-15.
Sure.
Manning's last year because he was out.
Like the Spurs. It's like the Spurs when Duncan was out for the year and they got first pick and then they won the championship.
Well, no, it was Robinson that was out for the year.
That's what I meant. Yeah, Robinson was out.
And they got Duncan.
They won the lottery, and then lo and behold, they won the championship. And they won like 25 games. They went from playoffs for 10 years straight to and then they went to the playoffs for 24 straight years or something stupid after that, right?
Fuck them.
All right, man. Well, that's it. That's all I got, brother. I think that was a good pod, man. I think we did our listeners right here. You have anything you want to add?
Not at all, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It was a fun one.
All right, man. Well, that's it for the Goal Line Fade. We've got a lot more coming up. Obviously, Cowboy news is going to be kind of sparse here the next 6 weeks. We hear a good story like we did about Steamy. We're going to talk about it. Any battles we got coming up or mini camp stuff, we'll talk about that. But it's mainly going to be about where the Rangers at and what's happening with the Mavs. And then, when the Mavs season ends, we'll be talking a lot about what the Mavs need to do with the draft and free agency and stuff as well. So that's kind of what's going to be going on with us. And Brian and I will do a little bit, since it's going to be kind of the slow season coming up, to kind of talk about more about what's going on with our personal stuff, just so you kind of get to know us for the stretch run. And once again, for our listeners who are just finding this episode because, hey, this is going to be trending a little bit because of the schedule release, so a lot more people might get their ears on this than normal. Brian and I, our goal and our mission for this upcoming season is we are going to be doing a reaction pod for every single Cowboys game. So you are going to get a 15 to 30-minute podcast after every Cowboys game uploaded. That's going to be us reacting to it, as well as our normal episode every single week, as well as breaking news as it occurs. So we are going to be working emergency pods and things like that into the schedule, as we've announced on previous episodes. So we're excited about that. The object of this podcast is for fun, and it's also to grow this thing, and we're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter if we have one person listening or 5,000, the same amount of effort and energy is going to be put in each episode on this end. So thank you for the listens. And if you like what you heard, reviews means so much. So if you can find the time to give us a review, I would be greatly appreciative. Brian, anything you want to say in closing?
I think you covered it all, sir. Cheers.
All right. Thanks for the listens, everybody. This is the Goal Line Fade, and we are out. Peace.